Real Virginia is proudly produced by the Virginia Farm Bureau Federation. Since 1926, Farm Bureau has been working to preserve Virginia farms and our rural heritage. Visit our website at vafarmbureau.org.
Home will always be Virginia, between the Blue Ridge and Chesapeake Bay, Atlantic to Appalachia, home in my heart always.
Hello everybody, welcome to Real Virginia, a show about Virginia agriculture and the people who produce all of the wonderful products we enjoy. Virginia's robust agricultural economy is an economic engine, and it remains the state's largest industry. We'll find out how easy it is to grow potatoes in your garden, and it's CSA season. We explain how communities are continuing to support their local farmers. Welcome back, everyone. We're here at one of our favorite locations. It's Pole Green Market in Hanover County. And this market brings fresh and locally produced products from all over the state to its residents. And agriculture is still the leading industry in the state of Virginia. In fact, it brings about $52 billion to the state's economy. And as Dave Miller reports, it's continuing to grow and adapt.
The number of farms in Virginia remained almost steady, according to the most recent U.S. Department of Agriculture survey. Just 3% of the state's farms have disappeared in the past 5 years, going from 45,900 to 44,700. The National Agriculture Statistics Service says the total land in farms decreased by just 1,000 acres to 8.1 million, while the average Virginia farm actually grew by 2 acres to 181. Virginia's Commissioner of Agriculture, Sandy Adams, says the farm sector is evolving to meet today's market demands.
We're seeing pickups in people growing hops, using grains for the distilleries, and then of course, like you mentioned earlier, the cideries. People are starting to grow more heirloom apples now for the ciders. Another specialty and niche crop that can hopefully make a little bit more money off. And then the grape growing continues. We need more grapes in Virginia for all the wineries we have. So that's another niche market where we see it's starting to see change and growth.
The report says smaller farms are where the growing diversity of farm products are taking place. Those growers are more focused on 1 or 2 crops, whether it's specialty grains for breweries or vegetable crops. Agriculture Extension Agent Scott Ryder says the public won't see these changes, but they're important in rural Virginia.
All of the land that was in production, short of something going to housing, or is going to remain in crop production, there's going to be about the same number of cattle, sheep, goats that there was. So the consumer won't see any difference because it's mostly a consolidation.
Today's world market for agricultural products has led to an increase in competition and in many cases has led to lower commodity prices. Adams says that Virginia overseas sales are a big part of our farm economy.
When you're talking about the global market and looking at prices changing there, you've got to remember also that we do a lot of exporting, $3.17 billion in exports.
While the average age of a Virginia farmer has risen to 59, there's more to the story. Ryder says that you have to put that statistic into perspective.
Well, a lot of times what the statistics doesn't show the rest of the family in that operation. They're just reporting the age of the reporting operator. It doesn't take into account sons, daughters, nephews, nieces, grandchildren that are part of that working farm operation. So while the numbers, the age is growing, rest assured somebody's going to keep these farms in production.
For example, a farmer's child often joins the family business after graduating high school or college. In many cases, it may be 20 years or more before they become the chief operators of those farms. So as operators retire or diversify, the overall agricultural picture in Virginia remains quite stable. In fact, that succession offers a natural way for farmers to transition from traditional to new foods and products, or to expand the production of more traditional crops and livestock, because whatever is grown and at whatever age, in the end, the farmer has to make a profit. This is Dave Miller.
A 2013 study found that agriculture and forestry have a direct economic impact of $70 billion a year in Virginia. Farming represents the bulk of that number at $52 billion. Nothing else even comes close in importance in Virginia's economy, not even defense spending. Economists estimate 414,700 employees work in fields directly or indirectly related to agriculture and forestry. Agritourism and forest recreation are also considered vital parts of Virginia's high-profile tourist industry. And while you might expect agriculture to be more important in rural areas, every part of the state is impacted by the farm economy.
Hi, today we're going to be talking about an easy way to grow potatoes from the ground up. Please stay tuned.
We're on Oak McGee Dairy Farm in Amelia County, Virginia.
My great-grandfather moved here in 1898. I started milking cows, I think, in 1902, and been milking cows ever since.
The farm involves my father-in-law, mother-in-law, my husband, his brother, and our 2 boys.
You get to see and get the knowledge of the generation ahead of you, and you get all the education and new ideas from the younger sons behind me.
And I feel a real connection with the land I work every day, and being able to work with my dad and brothers and uncle and grandfather.
You know, we plant stuff, you like to see it grow, build up a good herd of cattle, and think you accomplished something.
You can see the profits of your labor on a daily basis.
And we really take pride in what we do, producing a wholesome product for the consumer.
I am Larkin Moyer, a 4th-generation dairy farmer from Virginia, and I'm dedicated to dairy, my cows, my milk, and my land.
It's spring planting season, and that means it's time to plant potatoes. Chris Mullins with Virginia Cooperative Extension shows us a unique way to plant spuds from the ground up.
Well, hi and welcome. Today we're at the Fauquier Education Farm. We're with the Executive Director, Mr. Jim Hankins. Jim, thanks for letting us come out here today. We're going to be talking a little bit about potatoes, how to maybe grow. We're talking about Irish potatoes or white potatoes, right?
Yep.
And I know gardeners are interested in that. Some of them do it. Some of them dig furrows, plant their potatoes, and it's a lot of work. But you're going to show us a little easier way to do that maybe today.
This is literally called a potato lazy bed.
All right, okay, I like that. Well, how do you start? What do you do here?
Well, what we've done here was we first plowed the soil, prepared it, and then established furrows.
Okay.
And spaced the potatoes out there at about 14, 16 inches, and then covered the entire area with 6 to 8 inches of hay or straw. We have both hay and straw in this patch.
Okay, okay. So you just start with potatoes, normal potatoes.
Yep.
And you just lay them down, or what do you do? What do you do with them?
Yep. You literally, with a lazy bed potato production, you literally can put them right on top of the soil and never cover them with soil. You're going to cover them with the hay mulch. Okay. The advantages to doing that is the potatoes can come up through this thick layer of hay mulch very successfully. It's going to suppress most of your weeds. It's going to hold all of your moisture, or most of your moisture, down there where the potatoes really need it. Okay. And one of the great advantages is at the end of the season, all of this hay mulch will just decompose and become more organic matter for your soil.
Wow, I like that, because weeding is one of the most difficult tasks in the garden.
Yep.
And so by putting this thick layer, and it is a thick layer, right?
It is a very thick layer. You've got to have 6 to 8 inches for this to work.
Okay, okay.
You know, what is really beautiful, we are, as I said, it's very, very dry outside, and if you can come here and look at this moisture that's underneath here, and if you do not get it thick enough, you do not suppress the weeds. And the more organic matter you're putting in the soil is great. People are very familiar with going out during the middle of the summer and hilling their potatoes,
right,
raking more soil on to keep the potatoes covered. By covering it the right way in the early season with this good 6 to 8 inch thick layer, it's a lazy bed.
I like that. I like that.
Done. And then what's really beautiful is most of the potatoes will form right at the top of the soil. You pull the hay back, and there they are without any digging required.
Well, that's great. That is truly wonderful. And you know, we talk to gardeners all the time, and we say maybe you should irrigate for your garden to have a good yield. But with all this straw and hay on here, it keeps that moisture down. So you don't really need to irrigate here, do you?
No, I typically don't irrigate potatoes. You know, they're coming in early in the season, which is normally a moist part of the year.
Well, Jim, This is great. I understand the advantages. What do you do with all this straw afterwards, after the production season?
Well, that's one of the great things about this method is that we're improving the soil for next year. We really literally are just composting this hay right in place. I'm going to leave it right here, and by next spring it will be ready to incorporate. I've created a great habitat for worms, a lot of beneficial insects, and I'm just adding fertility to the soil.
Makes perfect sense. This big field, you put in a lot of big round bales here because it's a large field.
Yeah.
Most gardeners wouldn't need to do that because those bales are huge. What can they find and how can they do this on a small scale?
Anybody at any local feed store can buy a couple bales, square bales of wheat straw, Just go in and ask for straw. It works beautifully. You can cover a 10-foot by 8-foot area with maybe 2 square bales of straw, and it works really well.
Perfect, great. Thanks so much. And for more information about potato production, please contact your local county extension office and talk to a master gardener. From the Ground Up, I'm Chris Mullins, and we'll see you next time.
From the Ground Up is presented with the generous advice and assistance of Virginia Cooperative Extension. Visit their website at ext.vt.edu and visit the Fauquier Education Farm Facebook page to learn about their workshops this spring.
We have an easy recipe for seared salmon featuring sherry glazed onions up next in the heart of the home.
90 years ago, the Virginia Farm Bureau made our local farmers a promise to protect and preserve a way of life they'd worked so hard to establish. Today, our insurance agents work to protect all Virginians, not just farmers. Anyone can be a Farm Bureau member, but the original promise remains. There's a local Farm Bureau in every county of the state. We want to keep Virginia, Virginia. Visit our websites at farmbureauadvantage.com and vafarmbureau.org. You can find Virginia-grown onions at most farmers markets in spring, summer, and fall. They're best planted in the early spring to give the leaves time to develop before the spicy bulb grows to harvest size in warmer weather. Onions prefer full sun, although green onions can tolerate partial shade. There are a number of different varieties that mature in 85 days up to 185 days, so it pays to research which variety would work best in your schedule and soil. And while you can buy onion sets in most hardware stores and home centers, most gardeners recommend raising transplants instead.
Spring onions can really kick up a dish, and we have one that's going to be a favorite. Chef John Maxwell brings us seared salmon with sherry glazed spring onions in the heart of the home.
Hi, I'm Chef John Maxwell, and I'm here at Meadow Hall at the Meadow Event Park in Doswell, Virginia. And every week we play with some great Virginia food. Today we've got some interesting things. It's a very simple menu, and it's sort of Virginia food. We're going to be playing with some farm-raised salmon, right? And they're raised in what's called a recirculating aquaculture system that was developed by our friends at Virginia Tech. We've got 2 different kinds of onions here. This is a Spanish onion. It's a white onion. It's typical of one that you would use. You'd find it in the grocery store anytime, right? This is a sweet onion, right? They're mostly grown in the South. Right? But Vidalia is the most famous brand of these, but you can see how much flatter it is than a typical onion. And that's a good sign that the onion is sweet. So even if it's not labeled as a sweet onion, if it's flat like this, chances are really good that it is. So we're going to use the sweet onions because the salmon that we're using, right, has got a little bit of fat in it. All salmon do, especially farm-raised. Right? So we're going to try and cut through that fat with a little bit of sweet onion. Onions are highly acidic, so this is going to help cut that fat as well. So we're going to cut one time straight down through the onion, and now cut it into slices across. All right, and I'm going to do the other one as well, straight down through and across. All right, we're going to start some butter in here. And we're going to add these onions to the butter. All right, so we've got that in there. And this is going to cook for a little while. It's got to kind of caramelize, get a little bit brown All right? So I'm going to add a little bit of sugar to that. All right? To help bring out the sweetness. All right? Add a little bit of pepper. And let that go. That's going to take several minutes to cook. Meanwhile, we're going to start our salmon. Get this heated up. And I've got salmon right here. I'm going to take a little bit of pepper. Get this good and hot. Now, with fish especially, but chicken also, the side of the fish that you want your guest to see first goes down into the plate, into the pan first. So we'll let that sit there and cook for a little bit. Now it's going to brown on one side, then we're going to turn it over, and it's going to take about 2 minutes. So we'll be back when this thing starts to color. All right, well, this is starting to brown nicely on that side. We're going to turn it over. Oh yeah, got a nice little crust beginning. All right, we're going to let it sear a little bit on that bottom side, on the skin side, and then we're going to move it into the pie pan and put it in the oven. And the only reason I'm putting it in the oven is because I want it to finish cooking, but I don't want it to get this intense heat from the bottom up. I want the heat from around, and I want its induction heat to bring the heat to the center of the fish. All right, so that goes in there. All right, now let me take this off. I don't want to burn the pan again. All right, so this is going in the oven. And the onions are coming back on. I've got these on there with a little bit of salt, pepper, a little bit of sugar. All of the food that we get here, that we use on this show, comes to us from Relay Foods, whose specialty is organic and natural foods, local sourced products. So helps keep us nutritious. And then the fact that they're in Richmond, that helps. All right. So I'm going to add some sherry wine. Now, the better the sherry that you use in this, the better the resulting sauce is, right? And sherries can get pretty expensive. So I'd stay away from the $70, $75 a bottle sherries. I'd go with a $15 to $18 bottle of sherry. It takes about 3 ounces. All right, we're going to let that simmer down. Look, can you guys smell this? It is delightful. Okay. Want to reduce this now for just a little bit. So I'm going to take this out of our way and get a plate. All right. And while that is simmering, I'm going to garnish this plate first. All right. And I'm going to start with some greens. All right. These happen to be beet greens, but you can use spinach, you can use collards, you can use pretty much any kind of green you want. And now I've got what's called as a tomato fillet. I cut the edges off, cut the tomato into quarters, then trimmed out all of the insides of it. I know what you're going to say, this looks different from the other one, because it is. I cooked 2 fish, one earlier and one on camera. This is the earlier one. So I'm going to put this down on the plate, and I'm going to spoon some of these onions over the top. And this is just scrumptious. Sweet onions with sherry on salmon. Join us again next week when we play with some great Virginia foods here in the heart of the home.
Recipes from the heart of the home can be found on the Relay Foods website at relayfoods.com.
There are 30,000 roadway accidents each year involving cars and farm machinery. Farmers will be moving equipment for planting and harvest season. The slow-moving vehicle triangle in red and fluorescent orange colors and flashing lights allow for quick identification. When you see an SMV sign on farm equipment, slow down, prepare for sudden stops and slow turns.
Patience will save lives. Just remember, we all need to share the road, we all need to be responsible, and we need to be guided by the law.
Motor vehicle safety starts with you. People across Virginia are embracing the fresh produce, which is finally coming into season. And for some, they're reaping the benefits of the hard work of their CSA farmer. And as we found out, it isn't just the spring crops that are growing for this industry. These three little letters are getting a lot of attention from local farms across Virginia, CSA, which stands for Community Supported Agriculture. CSAs allow customers to have direct access to high-quality, fresh produce grown locally by regional farmers.
Typically with the CSA, the consumer will pay the farmer an upfront fee at the beginning of the season, and they'll be given a list of crops that are being grown and what the typical harvest period will be, the volume of produce that can be expected.
Essentially, when you become a member of a CSA, you're purchasing a share of vegetables or fruit from an area farmer. Weekly or bi-weekly from May until November, your farmer will deliver that share of produce to a convenient drop-off location. Some even have pickup locations at their farms. Tyler Wegmeyer, a Loudoun County farmer, has only been in the CSA business for just the past 2 years and has already seen benefits.
If you sign up for our CSA, we tell people you're going to get inundated with strawberries starting in early May. That's the start of the season. That gets you really excited. At the tail end are pumpkins. Over 55 different varieties, all shapes, colors, sizes, you name it, to decorate your house with, to cook with, etc. But in between strawberries and pumpkins, you're going to get yummy fruits and vegetables, blackberries, raspberries, all the leafy greens.
CSA members pay for an entire season of produce up front, typically anywhere from $450 to $650. This early bulk payment enables the farmer to pay for the season, purchase new seed, make equipment repairs, and much more. Signing up for a CSA typically starts in January and runs through mid-May. Shares usually include 7 to 10 types of vegetables. These CSAs are growing as fast as their produce in Virginia. In 2009, the Virginia Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services tracked 59 CSAs across the state. As of 2016, there are 91 listed.
We see no ceiling. Here in Loudoun County, the population continues to increase. The desire for local food is there. It will continue to increase. The sky's the limit. I mean, we're keeping it small now to make sure we get all the kinks worked out of our system, make sure we can grow the best premium quality produce that we can, but then we plan to make it bigger.
Like most CSA operators, Wegmeyer feels he has the opportunity to educate the consumer on the importance of agriculture in their region.
We have 3 locations for You Pick strawberries. We have 4 locations for You Pick pumpkins. We have a separate agritourism business in which we get a lot of people and have a fall festival.
To find a CSA in your area, log on to virginiagrown.com. That's going to do it for this edition of Real Virginia. We are so glad you could join us to celebrate the bounty Virginia has to offer, whether it's in your home, your garden, or your landscape. We're proud to say that this is Real Virginia. So for everyone from the Virginia Farm Bureau, thanks for watching. Make it a great week.
Home will always be Virginia, between the Blue Ridge and Chesapeake Bay.